Okay, this is going to be an interesting one. So, I don't know about you, but I like to get out of the house. It's good for my mental health. I've got a dog called Harley, and this isn't about dogs, but I just want to share something with you. I've got a dog called Harley, and he's a Rottweiler, and he needs walks, regular walks. So I have to take him for a walk every day, even though it drives me mad. But every time I take him for a walk, I always feel better. Now, when I take him for a walk, well, I'm only out the house for maybe 10 minutes, something like that. But that's enough for me. It keeps me fit. But then I stop walking, and then I just come home and then get on with my life. But I got someone with me, a guest called Charlene, but she did something different. She wasn't walking a dog, but she was walking. In fact, she didn't stop walking. Now, you've got to get your head around this, right? She actually carried on walking for 3,000 kilometers. Now, in England, that's about 1,864 miles. And she didn't stop. At the age of 24, she just started walking. I'm like, well, why would you do that? How did you do that? What happened when you did that? Well, we've got Shalene with us because this is going to be very interesting because something's going to come out of that, isn't there? If you just keep going. Your body's telling you stop, 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 but she kept on walking. She walked that much. It was literally, if you put it into perspective, it was almost across New Zealand. Can you imagine that? I struggled walking the dog for 10 minutes. And I think I'm fit. And at the age of 24, she did this. And we've got her here with us. So we're going to have a chat with her in a second. So listen to this, because when you find out what happens, it'll literally blow your socks off.
Analyzing the news.
Okay, so we've got Shalene here. She's not walking at the moment. She's actually having a rest. And I don't blame her. So here she is now, looking fresh and fit, obviously.
Yeah.
How's things, Shalene?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. And that was an awesome introduction.
I know it doesn't really compute though, doesn't it? I'm trying to give an example of what you've done, but I've never walked that far. The only walking I do is just walking the dog, so I can't get my head round why you did it, how you did it, and what happened when you did it. So you've written a book about this, and it's not just about the walking, but something happened and there's a reason behind it, and this video is going to be interesting because we're going to find out exactly why. So let's go back to the beginning, right? Before we get to this walk, okay, I want you to just say hello to everyone, and there you go, say hello.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, there you go, you're looking well. So what have you been doing today?
Thank
just
you.
relaxing or?
Yeah, I've been keeping busy. My book actually officially comes out a week today, about a week from the time of this recording. And so it's been quite full on behind the scenes, getting everything ready for that. And I'm very excited to share it with you all. And outside of that, I'm just enjoying life in New Zealand and that sort of thing. It's summer here, so it's nice and warm, and away we go.
Oh, it's not summer here. So this book that you've written, before we get into this is going to get exciting, by the way, so don't worry, right? This book that you've written, what's it called?
So it's called One Step at a Time. I've got a copy here. I'll see if I can put it in the...
Right.
So it's just this, one step at a time. And it just details my journey of walking the length of New Zealand, which was the 3,000 kilometers.
Right.
And that was done back in 2010. Which was along Te Araroa, a trail that goes from Cape Reinga to Bluff in New Zealand. So you travel the entire length. And the interesting part about my story is that I did the trail before it opened. So before it became popular in the way that it is today, I took a friend with me and we walked the full length of the country. And we had numerous challenges along the way just because that trail wasn't fully finished. So when you think about maps or signage or even just people knowing what you were doing, it was very raw and unfinished. And it's hard to fully describe it without reading the book, but it was quite an adventure and something that became a turning point in my life.
No, absolutely. Now, when you think about the way you're saying it, you think, right, so she's walked 3,000 miles or 3,000 kilometers, which is 1,864 miles, which is long. It's not natural, okay? Your body's not meant to do that. Now, but this is the thing, right? That's part of it, right? But
Yes.
it's what led to that and what happened, and that's why Charlene's had to write a book about it, and we ain't going to be able to cover it all in this episode, but you're going to sort of get a taste for what happened, because this will literally blow your socks off. Right, so what we're going to do before we get to the big shebang, right, we're going to go back to the beginning, right? So let me ask you, before we get to that, let's go back to when you were a kid, right? So we're talking to little Charlene, right? Were you an athletic kid? What was going on there? Were you sporty?
I think, well, I loved sports probably from like early teen years. And my parents were gracious enough to always kind of put me and my sister in different activities. So I grew up starting soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, at quite a young age. I was not good at that one, but I was in it anyway, and did other things like gymnastics, and eventually got my way into volleyball teams and different sport teams in school. So I always enjoyed being physically active. I always enjoyed cycling and trying mountain biking and running and that sort of thing on my time away from school. And so, yeah, physical activity was always part of my life. And my parents were always very insistent that I walk to school, which I used to find very annoying, but I think was a key foundational element for me understanding that I could essentially get anywhere I wanted to with my own 2 feet. So I kind of grew up with, I suppose, a lot of physical activity and enjoying it. And then it wasn't until I got to university that I started to branch out to push that a little bit more as far as what I could achieve.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Go on. So you're there. So when you're younger, you've got this hobby. It's almost a habitual thing, isn't it? You're a walker. You like walking, right? It's good. Everyone knows walking's very good for you, okay? But what we're talking about, we're not talking about somebody who goes for a walk for half an hour a day. Or this is someone who's walked, like I say, 3,000 kilometers. So it's sort of right. Trying to get my head around this a little bit, right? You got to understand this. Like, to you, it makes sense, right? To people watching, they're like, why 3,000? But again, we're going to get into it, right? Because obviously you have to prep for that, can't you? You can't just do it.
Yeah. Well, that's the ideal, is to prep. So I think I've always been a type of person where when I get an idea in my head, I just go for it. And when I'm connected with that inner, whatever, intuition or your inner core or who you are as a person, and you just know that this is what you're meant to do. Yeah. Anytime I've had those sorts of ideas or inclinations, I just go for it. And I kind of, maybe I'm naive in that way, where I just kind of take the leap of faith that things will work out. Yeah. When it came to me walking Te Araroa, it was a similar thing where I just knew this is what I meant to do. However, before that, I had a different adventure where I decided to walk across British Columbia. And in Canada, I went from Sunshine Ski Village, which is close to Banff, just as far as a reference point, and then walked across to Vancouver. And that was approximately 1,000 kilometers. So I don't know what that is in miles. Yeah. And I did it solo doing that one. And for me, that was my way of saying goodbye to Canada, because I was off to travel. And I kind of thought, oh, this is a great way to doing it. And that sounds absurd to many people, to go of all the things you could do to travel or have an adventure or explore or do something on your own. Why would you want to walk across Rocky Mountains by yourself? Yeah. And for me, it just made sense, and I went for it. So when I heard of Te Araroa, to make the leap from 1,000 kilometers to 3,000, I just thought, what's the big deal? It's another couple months. But yeah, from the outside, maybe it sounds a bit crazy.
So when we look at this, right, like I say, we'll get into this, don't worry, because everyone's thinking, right, come on, what's going on, right? Is that it? She's just walking. Like, no, there's more to it, right? So we all have to get places, don't we? You know, the most efficient way is to walk, isn't it? But if it's too far, we get the bus, we drive, we travel there, whatever, right? But this is different. The thing with Shalane, she didn't stop walking. She just keeps on walking. Now there's something in that, and you think, well, why? Because you're not walking anywhere. You're just walking for the sake of walking. And this isn't. It is relaxing, maybe for an hour or so, and then you start getting splinters in your legs. Your calves start aching. Your palate starts drying out. Your oxygen's got. You're like, this is becoming painful now. But you kept on walking. So what would you say is that driving force? What is it that's pushing you just to keep going?
I think for anyone who hasn't done something like this, the easiest thing I can relate it to is any large goal that you might have in your life. If you have clarity on where you want to be in a year or what you want to achieve by doing X, Y, and Z, and you're really clear on what that looks like for you and why you want it and how it would impact your life by doing this goal, you're willing to then go through any amount of obstacles or challenges to get there, because you know that this is where you're going to end up, and you know that the effort you're making to get there will be worth it. And that's partially why I titled my book One Step at a Time, because I think any goal like that you can break down into small enough steps where you're just focused on just take the next step, and then the next one, you can get anywhere. And you might find yourself, weeks later, months later, years later, going, I've done it. And I was able to walk my peripheral 3,000 kilometers. And it might not be in the physical sense. It might be something like achieving a bachelor degree or traveling the world in a different way, or maybe you're going to write your own book or any of those sorts of things. I think we all have the capacity to achieve greatness if we break things down into one step at a time. And what one person might see as something that goes, this is what I want to do, the next person goes, oh, that's absurd. Why would you ever want to do it? And it's because you have that clarity on where you want to end up. Yeah. So for me doing Te Aroha, it was knowing I wanted to see New Zealand, and I wanted to see it a different way than most people had seen it. And I had enough experience behind me to know I could push my body and mind in a certain way. So to do it a little bit bigger scale, it was worth the challenge for me. I wanted to get to the end of it and go, hey, I did this. This was something that's part of my story now that no one can take away from me. And very few people would be able to mirror that experience because I was doing it before Te Aroha opened. Yeah. So I don't know if that kind of explains a little bit better.
It does. So have you heard that saying, a rolling stone gathers no moss? Have you ever heard that? It's good, that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll just break it down. Exactly. So a rolling stone, something that keeps moving, doesn't grow bacteria. Nothing grows on it, just keeps going. So you've got Shalane, she just keeps going, right? Her body's like, slow down. No, she keeps going, right? Anxiety, stress, depression tries to creep it. No, she just she doesn't stop. And it's like that saying, God loves a trier. This isn't, there's something here, right? And people say, what's the secret of success? Just keep going. Just keep going. Like you said, to the next step. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to be happy, you've got to keep going. If you want to be rich, keep going. If you want whatever you want, you've got to keep going, and you'll get there. And walking is the physical representation of your emotions, isn't it? You just do it, and you always feel better when you go for a walk. You can walk your problems away. It's hard to feel depressed when you're running because you're thinking about something else. What's that saying? Motion is emotion. It's true, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So exactly. We're getting into this. I know we're taking it slow, but believe me, this is a long journey. So stay with me. Right. So let's go back. So you're at school. You're doing well. You're doing all your sports. It's great. You go to university. Then what's going on here? You're still sort of doing it, but the world's changing a little bit. You're growing up. You're maturing. Yeah. What's happening?
For me, I had a bit of a turning point when I turned 18 and kind of had that realization, as I'm sure young people do often, is that I'm officially legally an adult. And
Mm.
that means I can design the life in the way that I want it to be. And for me, that really hit me hard because it all of a sudden opened up this whole world where I had options to choose. And at the beginning, I didn't know what to choose. So I chose university and I chose different study programs that I thought, oh, this makes sense in the moment. But underlying it all, I knew I wanted to travel and I wanted to see the world. And I kind of wanted to step outside the bounds of normality of what I quote unquote should do with my life and try different things. And I think a lot of people in, their late teens, early 20s kind of hit that point where they want to break free and do things differently. But for me, that didn't mean stepping into the party lifestyle. It didn't mean, going, trying different drugs or getting into smoking or any of that. For me, it meant, hey, I kind of want to go on an adventure and I want to travel and I want to see the world and I want to experience different cultures. And so I knew that that was a direction I wanted to go. I just didn't know how it would look. And for me, a lot of organizing that in my head came from inspiration of other people's adventures in travel books. And there's so many great writers out there, but one that really stuck with me is Colin Angus. And he is an outdoor adventurer that's done so many amazing things, but one that he's well known for is circumnavigating the globe by manpower. And reading his story on that, it really impacted me on how far a person can go just with their own 2 feet or their own physical body to move themselves a great distance. And that inspired me then to think about how I would then travel. And that was part of the reason I thought it would be no big deal to then walk across British Columbia. Because for me, I thought, well, if Colin Angus can get around the whole world just with his own body, I can certainly do 1,000 kilometers. And then once I take that off my list, it kind of continued to branch off from there.
So how do you sort of prepare for that? You can't just put your trainers on and start walking. How does this work? Do you have to take a backpack with you with a tent? How a lot of wild camping?
Well, looking back on it, I have to admit I didn't do as much preparation as
Mm.
what one probably should. I kind of went into doing my journey across British Columbia a little bit naively. I prepared in the way of gear, uh, but maybe not the best gear, and kind of did things based on assumption that maybe this is what I need. I don't know. And literally went for it. I was physically fit in the sense that I was continually active and doing running and that sort of thing, but I had never over multiple days walked with a heavy pack before. So there was preparation in the sense of making sure that I had sufficient gear, and kind of had my maps organized and that sort of thing. But there was a lot I didn't know. And I literally walked into the Rocky Mountains with very minimal knowledge of what it would take to carry on long distance. And that's whether you're talking about what happens to your body or your mind or your gear. Uh, and then that was only amplified when I did Tetaroa. And I did do a lot more preparation for Tetaroa because I had learned what I had learned in British Columbia. But again, I chose to go with a friend and we planned together, but neither one of us had done a journey like this before. So there was only so much preparation we could do before all of a sudden you're step foot on the trail going, I hope we planned enough.
Yeah. So when you're doing it, when you're going with a friend, you've got to be in sync with each other. You've got to get on for one, right?
Yes, yeah.
But more importantly, you're going to walk at different speeds. And that sounds, well, it doesn't mean anything. Well, it does, because me and my wife, she walks really slow and I walk really quick, and it drives me mad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just
Yeah.
walking around this shopping mall, because she walks,
Mm-hmm.
she stops every 2 minutes to look at things, and I get cramps in my legs. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
stand still. I have to walk, so I just go off. But if I'm walking in the wilderness and I'm with
Yeah.
someone and they're dragging their feet, what happens then when your mate's slowing you down or she's going too
Oh,
quick?
there's so much to say there. I think it's worth pointing out that my friend that I walked with, we met each other while we were both backpacking in Australia, and we ended up living at the same campground in our tents in Broome, which is on the west coast, northwest coast of Australia. And she knew me for about 4 days and kind of met me while I was busily preparing for Te Aroa, because at that point I planned to do it on my own. And she kind of questioned, "What are you doing?" And I explained that I was going to walk this trail in New Zealand, and it was my way of seeing the country, and I wanted to blog about it and get sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. And her instinct wasn't, "Oh, that's crazy." Her instinct was, "Can I come too?" And for me, I'm like, I don't know who you are really, but anyone who is that interested in doing this and curious enough that they would like to come, then it's worth exploring that. And so we decided to do the trail together after only knowing each other for less than a week. And then for us to know whether we were in sync, we kind of just had to go with our gut instinct that it would work out, because in Broome, if you haven't been there, it's quite flat and almost desert like. And so you're not really able to do a trial run day hike and see if you work well together in a hiking environment, because there really wasn't that environment to trial it with. And so we just kind of jumped into preparing to go together. And then it wasn't until we flew to Auckland that we even did a trial hike. But at that point, we had committed. We had decided that this is what we're doing together. So whether one of us walks faster or not, we were committed that this was going to be a partnership we were going to make work. And so that was an interesting process for me. Um, I can't speak for her, but for me, I found it interesting because I struggled to trust her fully, and I struggled to let go of some of the control that I had over the journey, because I knew on some level that we didn't know each other very well. And so I worried constantly what would happen if she couldn't keep up or couldn't carry the pack, or maybe we wouldn't like each other
Yeah.
at a certain point. After all, we were sharing a tent together as well. So we
Yeah.
were sharing a two-man tent. So there was a lot of factors there where it did bring about challenges to kind of learn how to make a very I don't know if intimate's the right word, because it's
Yeah.
just a friendship, but it was a very intimate relationship, because you're planning together, you're eating together, you're walking together, you're sleeping in the same tent together day after day after day, all the while pushing your body and mind further than maybe it's gone before. And that was interesting to get to the end, and we fortunately were able to and still be friends and still stay in touch after all these years, and share this very special adventure together. Uh, what do you do when someone's walking faster than the other?
Mm.
You just let them walk fast and know at some point you're going to catch up to them.
Right.
And maybe there's a few swear words in there, but you
Yeah.
kind of you kind of just keep on walking, really.
Yeah, I think you've got to be on the same page, because you're both going. You
Mm,
both know which direction you're going, or are you sort of figuring
yeah.
it out? You have to stop and think. Right, let's check the map. Is it that way? Should we start? Who decides? Right, should we rest now? Because maybe one person could say, "Well, I want to
Yeah.
go for another few hours," and the other person's like, "Well, I want to stop now."
Yeah.
How does that work?
Hmm.
How do you
Yeah.
compromise?
I think that's a great question. And for me, I write about this a bit in my book, but a lot of it was a process that I had to go through personally in my own journey in recognizing that I had control issues around that. So
Yeah.
because I had already walked across British Columbia, I kind of had a predetermined idea of how Tararoa would go. And essentially said to my friend Alex, I said, look, this is how we need to do it. And you're either with me or not. And so there was a lot of that at the beginning stages where she just kind of had to get on board with my plan.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a couple months in that she called me out on it and said, hey, look, hello, I've been walking with you for months now. You know, we're kind of equal partners. Like you shouldn't be controlling all of it.
Yeah.
And you should trust me more. And so that was something that I had to go through kind of confronting in myself of recognizing that actually this isn't good for us long term.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, I kind of preset and I said, look, we will stop every hour on the hour. And this is when we're going to have a break time. We'll have a break time for no more than 10 minutes. And then we're up for another hour and we'll walk for another hour. And we need to make sure that we get up first thing in the morning so that we get all our walking done before the hot part of the day. So we'd be up and out of our tent and on the next section of the journey by 6 a.m. And then we'd be done by 2. When a lot of trampers are still walking for hours, we'd be sitting there sunbathing. And
Yeah.
I loved it that way, but not everyone does.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that sort of stuff. But as we went, we would have things like injuries, or one of us would have a day where we're just like, look, this trail's doing my head in. I don't have the motivation to keep going. So on a day by day thing, we might have to adjust. And I mean, there was obviously things like you're walking through a New Zealand town and you're like, my goodness, this burger place smells amazing. We need to stop there and have a long lunch. And you'd be there for hours when you didn't actually plan to. And so you kind of make adjustments along the way.
But yeah, it's all about routine, isn't it? It's structure. It's like you said, right? Every hour, no matter what, we'll stop. If you work with if you've got a pattern and a structure, it's all right. So did you wild camp it every time you slept? You're in a tent. You didn't ever think, oh, let's go to that posh hotel over there. None of that.
I wish. Hey, we were walking on a backpacker budget, so we had literally spent. Well, I had spent a year backpacking Australia just prior, and Alex had spent, I think. Well, she extended her visa, so she had spent longer in Australia, and then she had been traveling before. So our budgets were really small.
Yeah.
So we went into it knowing that there was going to be no like flash support crew. We didn't have the budget to go to flash hotels and that. There was the odd time we stayed at backpackers, or we might stay at a campground but still sleep in our tent and then use the showers and that sort of thing. And it was blissful if we ever got a real bed to sleep on. It was amazing. But yeah, we kind of found, like, I guess, joy in looking forward to small things, and usually for that it meant a hot cooked meal.
Yeah,
That usually was a good driving force.
And what about this? Because I'm not a walker. I do walk, actually. I walk quite a lot, but not like you. But I always think when I go abroad, if I'm going on holiday or whatever, I'll walk 6-7 hours a day. I like walking, not power walking, just walk. But I find that if I have a stop, if like my wife says, oh, let's have a cup of tea at this cafe. If I stop, I always say, no, let's just carry on. Because if I stop and then start again, there's a power in momentum. If you stop and then when you start again, it's like, oh no, now my legs are hurting now. So how do you get through that? Because imagine on the scale that you're doing it, once you stop, your body's thinking, right, okay, now it settles. So even though you're having a long sleep, how does that affect your body? How do you just bounce back up and start walking again?
As you're saying that, there's so many memories that come to mind of situations where it was really challenging to keep going. And sometimes it was just after a short break where it's in the middle of your walking day and you're like, my goodness, I'd love to just stop right now. And sometimes there's one particular day I can think of where we were on top of a mountain range and had come across a couple trampers in the other direction that mentioned bad weather was coming in the next few days. And for us, we decided in that moment that the best thing we could do was to push further than we planned to that day to take advantage of the good weather, because we didn't want to get stuck out in the bad weather in a undesirable part of this mountain range area we were in. And so instead of staying at this one backcountry hut that we had intended to stay at, we decided we were going to continue not over one peak, but two peaks in this mountain range to get to the second hut that was a little ways further. So we were looking at adding on another, I think it was about 2 to 3 hours of walking, and not just walking, but really challenging walking physically and mentally, because it was technically difficult. And I just remember in my head going there, like, I wanted nothing more than to just stop at that point, because I had already put in 8 hours. I had already put in what my body and mind expected me to do for that day.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was being asked to do much more than I wanted to or thought I could even do. And all I could do to get around that was just continue to talk myself through the logic that the smartest and safest thing that we could do was to get to this next hut, because if we were to put ourselves in a position where we're risking bad weather, we might get stuck out where our food rations are lower than expected, or someone gets an injury and then we have bad weather, and all those sorts of considerations when you're in the backcountry, you kind of run through your head. So you kind of just get to a point where you tell yourself to suck it up and keep going. And that's again where the mantra of going one step at a time, that when you're in those really difficult periods where you're going, I don't know if I can do X, Y, and Z. Usually, if you can just pull it right back and go, I don't know if I can do that, but I can take one more step.
So,
and more often than not, you can do that.
So when you really think about this, right? For you, you just said, to you, it's not easy. It's not easy for anyone, but you've mentally found a way that you can go through it. But when you think about it, you are literally taking hundreds of thousands of steps, right? It's just one of them steps has to be wrong, right? And you're not conscious. You're just walking. You're not thinking about what you're doing. All you have to do is slip. Then you've got a sprained ankle. So that must have happened. And when it does happen, what do? You can't stop. How does that work?
Yeah, we had a couple injuries on the way. Alex, she actually inflamed her Achilles tendon right at the first section of the trail. Sorry. So at the beginning of Tetaroa, it's a multi-day beach section. So it's on 90 Mile Beach. And this, depending on how fast you're walking, it can take like 3 to 4 days. Some people have done it quicker, but given the pack size that we had, we took 4 days to complete from Cape Reinga to Ahipara, which is the town just south of it. And so beach walking, like you always kind of think, oh, beach walking is easy. I love long walks on the beach. It's beautiful. You got the sea air, you got the waves, you got the sand. It's great. But if you put on some hiking boots and a large pack and it's weighing you down, and you're having to walk not just an hour, but you're having to walk multiple days of 8-hour stretches, it's incredibly mundane and incredibly hard on the body. And so for her boot was rubbing enough on her Achilles that it inflamed her Achilles and it ballooned up. And there's nowhere you can go. You're in the middle of the beach. You might as well be in the middle of the desert, because there's not like a doctor next door. You just have to get to that next town. And so in that instance, all we could do was go at the pace that she could go. So if she was saying, look, I need a longer break, then we stopped. Or if she was like, no, let's push on, then we pushed on. And so she knew there was nothing we could do until we get to the town, and we kept going. So we had a few instances like that. And we also had a few instances where we kind of had to change our plans because of the injuries. and take longer resting at a location that we didn't intend to. And that was almost equally as hard, because you're kind of going, okay, we've got this time frame, we want to get to our destination, wherever it was in that section. And every time we stop somewhere, we're spending money on food or accommodation or doctor appointments and all that sort of stuff. So you're kind of constantly in this balancing act of challenging yourself to find what the right decision is in that moment. Yeah, which can be overwhelming if you kind of sit there and think about it too much.
And on top of that, you're being bitten by sandflies. There's no
Yes,
escape.
yes.
You can't win. You're like, why? Do you never think to yourself, why are we doing this? We're getting bitten. I'm in
Yeah,
agony.
yes, yeah.
On the positive, you go back home and your mates say to you, "You've lost weight, haven't you?" And say, "Well, yeah, I've been walking for the last 3 days." So
Yeah.
on average, how many hours were you walking a day?
We aim to walk for 8-hour days.
Right.
And for us, we were kind of a little bit more regimented on walking 8-hour days and taking a break for a short few minutes every hour. But we were a little bit more relaxed on when we had rest days. So we would still have days where we didn't do anything, and we might stay camped on the trail, or we might be in a town somewhere. And so for us at the beginning of the journey, we might take a rest day like every 4 days or something like that. So you kind of broke it up. And then as we continued on and our bodies and mind got stronger with what we were doing, it might be once a week, or we might go 10 days without a rest day. So we kind of have that going on, and I don't know, keep going. I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was.
No, there's loads of questions. Don't worry. So it's basically, what on average, how many hours are you walking? Which is around about 8.
Yeah.
So
right.
if we're trying to build a picture, you're walking 8 hours a day. You're having every hour you're having maybe 10-minute rest, and then maybe every couple of days you'll have like a day off, a rest day. But you're very conscious that, wait a minute, we still got to stick to the plan, and we've only got a little bit of money. We've only got so many rations, and this bag's getting heavy, right? And my feet are swollen. I look like the Elephant Man. But so that voice in your head that's saying, right, stop. What do you say to that voice? How do you shut it out? What do you say to it?
In this instance, for me, I had a couple things that I would run through my head. So we chose to do the journey and raise money for an organization called Indigo Foundation, based in Australia.
Right.
So that was a huge motivator to keep going, because if we didn't keep going, we would let them down, and we would also let our sponsors down, who had graciously supported our journey. So that was big. Secondly, for me, was just knowing that if I did stop, I could never find a good enough reason to do that, to then explain to everyone else, like friends and family, why I decided to stop. It just never felt like it was a big enough reason. So short of like some dramatic injury that would force me to stop, I never really felt good about saying, oh, I was too tired or my feet were sore. It's like that it didn't cut it for me. And then thirdly, it was for my own personal motivation of knowing that I would have to live my life from then on going, I ended the journey before finishing it. Yeah. And so as soon as I considered what that would look like in my head, I knew without a doubt I would regret stopping and not doing everything in my power to finish what we had started. So I had to keep trusting that even though my body hurt, even though my mind was tired and I wanted to, stop wearing the same clothes every day and go back to normal life, and even though my bank account was ridiculously low, it was down to $6 at one point, I knew I had to keep seeing if I could find a way to take that next step forward.
And what about, because you're walking and you so much, you're going to see things. Now, you're a woman, right? And a lot of women are going to be frightened, because even men would be. I would be walking around in the wilderness. There's going to be all sorts of things. And then you've got strangers. There might be people think, oh, it's going to be a mad axe man in the woods going to try and kill me. Did anything like that happen that you felt intimidated or unsafe at any time by other, like, I don't know, there's weird people in the world, isn't there? Did anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think back in that time of my life, I very much had the perspective that being in the wilderness with bears was safer than being in a city with men. That
Yeah.
was how I thought back then. So I was a little bit arrogant with my mindset around being a woman. I was also a little bit arrogant in the mindset of going, whatever a man can do, I can do too. And so I just kind of bulldozed my way through. Uh, but during the trail, we were very fortunate that everyone we encountered, aside from one gentleman, was really, really kind to us. And so we met some really amazing people along the way. The one person that was a bit questionable was just someone that asked some strange questions when we were in a town trying to catch up on blogging and get our food supply and all that sort of stuff. And he came up to us and asked us some questions about what we were doing. And then throughout the day, would randomly turn up again and ask us more questions. And, oh, come to my mom's house, you can have dinner, or come stay with me. And so it was just a bit awkward because you're trying to get everything done. And then this man kept approaching us, and he was one that had us a bit worried because whether you're a woman or you're a man, you stick out like a sore thumb when you're walking around a town with hiking boots and big pack on. You can't run very far because you've got this heavy pack, and you've got accents because you come from a different country and you don't know where anything is. So I think no matter what your gender is, you can be a little bit vulnerable traveling that way because you don't blend in very easily.
No, absolutely. And if you start thinking like, what if you ain't going to do it? And again, a lot of people think the worst case scenario. What if someone kidnaps me? What if aliens abduct me?
Yes.
Right? What if terrorists what ransom
Yeah.
for? But obviously that didn't happen, right? Because the world's not what it's
Yes.
perceived
Yeah.
to be. The world's pretty decent, isn't it? Really. So this is that part, right? So you're still a young woman, right? You've done this journey. It's over. Yes, finally. The most pleasurable part of the whole experience is when it's finished, because now you're having a hot shower. You're sitting in a clean bed. You're lying down, and oh, that's nice. And that reward is it was worth it. Just yeah. So that you're single at the time. You haven't got any responsibility. True. It's just you and yourself and I, right?
Yeah.
So then what, moving further on in your life now, so you're still doing your walking, then what happens next? What's the next chapter of your life?
After Aotearoa, the plan was to find somewhere to live and make money. We were broke. Didn't really have great prospects. So I ended up choosing to stick around in Hanmer Springs, which is a small alpine town just west of Christchurch, and beautiful place, and was able to stay there and work and build up the savings account again. And in that process, that's when I decided that I'd actually quite like to stay in New Zealand, because up until then, I had thought that I would continue traveling and go to a different country and explore more of the world. But by the time I settled in Hanmer Springs, I was like, nah, like there's too much of New Zealand that I love. I can't just give it up if there's a chance that I could stay. So the years that followed was a long process of me wrangling the immigration system here and really just nailing down that residency for me to stay long term. And once I got that, I thought that I'd like to go into having my own business and doing the entrepreneurial thing, and kind of got that up and running. And then, ended up in a relationship that kind of took my time and attention away, and had my son. And then, kind of, that took a huge chunk of the last few years until I realized that actually the direction I had gone was in a place where I had made my life smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's not to say that being in a relationship or being a parent is a small thing. It was more that the choices I had made for myself were along the lines of shrinking and people pleasing, and everything that I had become in walking Te Araroa, I had kind of tucked away in like the back corners of my mind and who I was, and ignored it, and then just kind of carried on and pretend I was living this normal life. And it took me a long time to realize that I was living so small that I had found myself in a really toxic, unsafe relationship. And it was time for me to break free of that and reclaim who I am and who I've always been, and really stand strong in that and stop trying to live my life according to what appeases everyone else's expectations of how I should live. So that's kind of diverted me to relook at my story in Te Araroa and go, you know what, I need to do this story justice and publish it properly and really create a foundation for where I want to go from here.
So let's play around with this for a little bit. So you're still young, right? How old are you at the time when you come? This is the story so far, right? There's you roaming around the earth like Adam and Eve, right? But not Adam, just Eve, right? She's going. She's in paradise. She's living off the land. She doesn't care, right? She's all she's responsible for is herself, and she takes full responsibility, right? She's got herself in this, and she's walking, and she keeps going, and she's happy. She's all right. This is good there. Then she meets someone, and then she thinks, oh, this is a nice relationship. I like this, right? So she meets this guy, and how old are you at the time then?
Oh, just turned 30, I believe.
So you were
No, it was 30, yeah, 30-ish, 30, 31, somewhere in there. Yeah.
31. So were you traveling all the way from when you were younger? All this traveling happened in your 20s all along. And then when you're like 30, this when you weren't tired of traveling, so you met someone, and it was literally
Yeah,
as quick as that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as with anything that I've ever done, when I decide to do something, I kind of jump in full force. And so
Yeah.
did the same in that situation.
So you walked into this relationship. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good analogy, that, isn't it? Because that's it.
Yeah.
So you have a child, which is great. You're a mother now, which is brilliant. Right? You're a mom, and that's fantastic. But you think, oh, have I made the right choice? Is that person the person I thought they were? We've all been through it, right? You don't have to go into that. But I've heard this thousands of times, right? All the different examples from different people. Like I had a woman on before. I was talking to you before we started, and I had this woman, and I can tell you this because she told the world anyway, because we did a podcast, and she was a pharmacist executive, right? She was the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, right? She's not a stupid woman, right? She's self-educated, financially secure. She doesn't need no one. She doesn't need money. She doesn't need nothing, right? She's sound mind. She makes decisions, critical thinking. She's not stupid. She did exactly the same, right? Met someone thinking on the premise, oh, this person's my little soul, and you see it all the time. But I think when people enter into relationships, especially we all do it, especially men, we put on a persona because we want to be our best self, right? But some people put such a persona on that it's not even who they are. It's a mask. That's what persona means, doesn't it? A mask. And the mask falls off, and you're like, oh, right. Is that who you really are? But now it's too late, because now I've got a kid to you and I'm married to you. Now I'm stuck. Now some people think, I maybe better sleeping and they stay in the relationship, right? Because to get out of it's hard, isn't it? So they might as well be miserable and just be in it, because to get out of it's difficult. but when you get out of it, it's like, okay, then another chapter, and it's scary, but something good happens. What's that saying? That the cave we fear to enter the most is where the treasure is. Have you ever heard that saying? It's true, isn't it?
Ah, I like it. No,
You
I
like that,
haven't
don't
heard
you?
it, though.
So this
Yeah.
is what you've done. You've walked into this relationship thinking it's something it wasn't. It's not your fault, right? You're a genuine pet. Women are genuine. They are. Not all of them, but most people, women are emotional. They go with their emotions. They don't think themselves into a relationship. They feel it. That's why they call it Mother Nature. They don't call it man nature, do they? Right? So women are very intuitive. They feel. That's why, and it's good, isn't it? They're tuned in. And so she goes, she feels this love, all right? And so she goes with the flow. And then she's like, okay, what do we do now? But because of that, because of who you are, obviously you're not a weak person. Shalane kept on walking, right? And it was hard. This was hard. This is the longest journey because she thought, I can't stay still. Not in this relationship because this isn't working. It's like it's like we look at the maps, isn't it? You've took the wrong direction. It's all right. When I'm a bit lost, I don't like it. I need to get out. But some people stay there, but you think, no, I need to get out. So she kept on walking, and this was hard because she was lost. But you're not lost because you sort of, oh, okay. And you kept on walking, and then you found a different path. So now she's out the woods, right? She's on a different path. So what's this new path? Tell me about it. Go on. I'm excited.
Yeah. So part of me kind of stepping away this last year has been to do a lot of work on myself and my own growth journey. And in doing so, I realized that I've always been internally an author. That's always something that I've wanted to be doing, is writing books and wanting to be sharing stories and insight with the world through writing. And so that's what brought me to finish writing my story on Aotearoa, of knowing that that story was a massive turning point in my life and the foundation of my, I guess, not really discovering who I am, but really empowering myself in who I've always been. And in doing that process of re-looking at that story, I also uncovered the layer of myself that's always been a people pleaser. And I think there's so many people out there that connect with that idea of people pleasing and entering social situations where they're more aware of what the other person needs and trying to appease that instead of standing strong in who they are first. And I've always been that person. And I realized that by leaving this relationship, that was part of what was detrimental to it, was my tendency to people please. And that's not saying that I take full ownership for everything. It's saying that I put myself in that position because I was willing to soften my edges, and I was willing to quiet my voice, and I was willing to change my opinions on things because I was more aware of what their needs were or where their emotions were lying that I had to tiptoe around. And so in leaving that, I knew if I ever wanted to have and maintain a healthy relationship, I needed to stop doing that. I needed to uncover why I was doing that. And I needed to find a new way forward where every interaction, I'm owning who I am and I'm authentic in that and I'm genuine in that. And in doing that, I then realized I wanted to create a platform where I can help others do the same thing, where I can help others achieve their goals, whatever they are, or stop people pleasing, or just genuinely find a way where they can live their best life.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of what's led me to where I am today.
Okay, this is interesting now, right? So let's play with this for a bit. Okay. Sorry, I told you I was going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So this is you're not alone. Don't worry. There's a lot of people in the world who feel like that. People pleasing. What does that mean? You know, when people say I'm a people pleaser, we sort of know what it means. But if we really look at it and say, well, what is that? And let's break it down. If I said I'm a people pleaser, I said, what does that mean? It says I'd rather please people before myself. I'll put other people's needs before mine. That means if I'm hungry, if two people are hungry, I'll feed them before I feed me, right? I'll suffer so they can thrive. So well, what is that? What does that mean? That means I'm not as important as you. Oh, innit? You think, oh, now we're getting selfish. Wait a minute, this is something else. That means I value you more than I value myself. Because if I value myself, that means I'm selfish, and I'm not selfish. Because selfish means I care about how I feel. That's what selfish means. Selfish means I care about how I feel. But I'm not concerned with how I feel because I don't want to be selfish. So I'll put you first. If it hurts me, it's all right, as long as you're all right. Now, if you do that, and which a lot of us do, if you do that to people, they'll walk all over you, right? Certain people will, because when someone loves you, they'll go, no, we're together, right? We're equal. And I get it, because I've got sisters. Well, I did. One died, and she was in a abusive relationship, right? So I get it. And I'm diverting a little bit, right? Only because I know you don't want to go into that, right? And you don't have to. But I know what you're saying because it's common. So I'm going to use my sister, right? And she can give me permission because she's not here anymore, right? She was in this relationship, really outgoing, athletic. I'm not saying this because she's my sister. She was stunning. I used to walk around with my sister and people would look at her, then look at me thinking I was a boyfriend, thinking, why is she with him? I'm like, it's my sister, you idiot. She was gorgeous. I used to do my head in. But all her mates were gorgeous as well, which was great. Because when I was a kid, they used to come around my house and she's my older sister. But anyway, moving on. This dead pretty, popular girl, really popular at school, loads of friends. Yeah, and you could tell all the boys fancied her. But I've got to be careful what I say now, right? Because let's just say my dad, I hope he's not watching this, right? Well, if he is, my dad's he's lovely. I love my dad, right? But I think my sister, she needed this father figure. She craved this father and I don't, because my dad worked a lot. Let's just say he was always working, right? Which is good, because in his mind he wanted to provide for the family. I get it, right? But she was a little girl and she craved that. And I know that because she used to tell me all the time when we were little kids. So now, psychologically, she's a little girl who's looking for a father figure, right? That's when it starts, right? So what happens when she leaves school? She's 16, right? She left school. She got a job in a cafe, right? She loved it. Some guy who was 24 coming to the cafe, give her attention. He's a man. She's 16. A 24-year-old to a 16-year-old. A 16, he's a man. He's tall. He's handsome. Right? And he's giving her attention and she loves it because he's an alpha male. You're like my dad, strong, right? And then she went out with him and I met him and he was funny. He was funny. Really, really funny. I thought he was a nice guy. And then I didn't have a clue what was going on. Right? And I will say it about him, but he was horrible. Horrible. I moved to Spain, so I don't know. I only know what happened. It starts mental, doesn't it? The mental little snidey comments. Oh, you put weight on to see how far they can get away with it. Oh, okay. And then they go further, and then they'll try and destroy you mentally, then emotionally, then spiritually, then physically, because they're egomaniacs, right? Anyway, she had 2 kids with them. They got put in foster care. She ended up literally a mess. Looked like a completely different person. And unfortunately, the relationship ended after 3 or 4 years. Did she learn? No. She met another guy, dead charismatic, dead charming, same pattern. And I said to her name was Gail. And I said, Gail, why do you keep... She goes, I said, why is it like when you put your hand in a barrel of apples, you always pick the bad apple? She went, I don't know. I don't know. And I know because when she's looking for, like you, putting him on a pedestal, right? And you put the wrong person on the pedestal, they'll take advantage of the situation. That's what a bully does, right? So let's just say that. And if any women are watching this, they'll know what I'm talking about, because I spoke to a lot of women and they said, I've been out with someone like that, controlling, yeah? And you say all men are bastards, sorry for swearing. So women think, oh, men are evil. They're not. They're not.
No.
It's just every man you picked on. And you say, well, is that my fault? You're like,
Exactly.
it's not your fault.
Kind of.
It's not your
No.
fault. But it's because you're not being selfish, right? Because selfish means you
Yeah.
care about how you feel. Because if you or my sister, if they said, you know what, I'm gonna not be people pleasing, I'm gonna care about how I feel, right? Because if you care about how you feel and someone comes into a relationship with you and tries to patronize you or put you down, if you care about how
Yeah.
you feel, you're going to go,
You're
move.
not going to put up
Ain't
with it.
happening, mate. Right? And they can sense it. And so what you're
Yeah.
saying, that's why I like you, right? Because you are a nice girl, right? And so nice girl needs a strong man who's going to love her, lift her up, encourage her, and build her spirits up, right? And together, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, not bullying. What's that all about? But it happens all the time. So what you're doing,
It does.
I don't want waffling on, right? But I'm trying to tell your story without you telling the story, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So you're now in a position to say, right, I figured this out now. I need to stop trying to. I've got to love myself before I can love anyone else, because if I don't love myself, I literally can't love anyone else, can I? It's impossible. If I don't give
Yeah.
myself something first, it's impossible to give it to them. How can I? If I haven't got it, how can I give it? That's why it doesn't work. So now you're getting this now. You're like, right, I'm waking up. So now you're gonna inspire people, right? And you can only inspire them with the truth. And the truth is, you have to become selfish. Selfish is not a negative word. Selfish is, I care about how I feel, right? I love you, but I care about how I feel. And if, as long as I do that, now I can give you love, right? And you know this better than anyone, because no one can outwalk you. No one, right? So you need to get that energy, because it's energy, and get that love energy that you've got and say, wait a minute, if I can walk all that distance, if I can do that, why can't I just give it to myself? So this is where you're at now, right? Because people are going to watch this, right? So you tell me, you're a woman. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? It's better when it comes from people like you, because you're a woman. Women aren't going to listen to me, right? But they'll listen to you because you've experienced it. So what do? You share your experience. What have you learned, Shalane, that's you can sort of support women and say, listen, I get it. I know what that is, right? Because I did it, right? What is it you're gonna do? Show me.
I think, like, listening to you talk, I think one of the light bulb moments that's worth sharing is that if you are someone who identifies as being a people pleaser, this is not a personality trait that you just laugh about in conversation, say, oh, haha, I'm a people pleaser. And, I sometimes do too much stuff for people, or sometimes I'm too agreeable. Being a people pleaser is something that I've realized is more of a survival tactic that is likely learned early on as a child in relationships that taught you that your voice doesn't matter, your boundaries don't matter, that it is more important for you to be accepted by society than to be yourself. And in your childhood years, and I'm speaking generally because this isn't always the case, but generally in childhood years, if those are the messages you're hearing about social interactions, it's very normal for you to enter a state of mind where you are people pleasing, where maybe in confronting conversations, you get a lot of anxiety because you're battling what your boundaries should be in your authentic self compared to what the other person expects you to be saying or doing. You might be someone who maybe hides your hobbies or your interests or even opinions about different topics in certain relationships because you don't feel free to fully be who you are. You don't feel safe to do that. And so you continue this pattern of putting everyone else's needs and wishes ahead of your own. And there's strength in that, because you might be someone like me that if you're in the service industry, in customer service, that is golden to have those skill sets. But when you're talking personal relationships, it sets you up to be vulnerable to those people who will constantly push boundaries because you don't have any boundaries. So they can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. It puts you in vulnerable situations where people can say and do and react in whatever way they want, because they know that you're someone who's going to find a way to justify it, to ignore it, to push it under the rug, or, you know, even at some points find yourself agreeing with them, even though it's not a behavior that you would generally want to have in your own life. And this is what sets you up to be in toxic relationships, abusive relationships, controlling relationships, whatever you want to call it. And for me, realizing that my tendency to people please was something that I had learned so long ago as a survival technique to survive the relationships I was in back then, I had to undo that work and empower myself to fully accept who I am as a person, and know that as an adult, by being myself and accepting myself and living an authentic life, I am naturally going to do away with all of those people who are toxic, and I'm going to end up attracting those that are more aligned with the life that I've always meant to have. And if you are not willing to do away with being a people pleaser, you're going to find yourself in a life that you were never meant to have to begin with. You were never meant to walk that path. I truly believe that people who are living authentically are going to be more inclined to reach their full potential, because each one of us is born unique with greatness within inside us, but we can't tap into that if we're going to limit ourselves and shrink and live a life where we're constantly people pleasing.
So let's play with this for a minute. Okay. It's good, this, isn't it? See, this is good because we're having a chat, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right? We're not just saying be
exactly.
positive. Love. If we say learn to love yourself and be positive, they go, I can't because I don't love myself. They say, just be positive, think positive thoughts. No, don't work like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does work if you understand who you are, because most of us don't know who we are. Do they? If I said to someone, I was going on a date, I'm married, right? But say I was going on a date with someone, I'd say, tell me about yourself. They'd say, well, I go to the gym, I like watching Netflix, I go for walks with my dog. I said, no, I didn't ask you what your hobbies were. I asked you, tell me about who you are. And they say, well, my name's Jackie, I'm 45, I've been married. No, that's your identity. They go, what? I say, tell me who you are. And they go, I don't know what you mean. Yeah. And you said, what? This sounds like I'm getting deep, right? But it's not. It's asking proper questions. If you ask someone, if I said to you, who are you? You'd say, my name's Shalane. I'll say, no, that's your name. That's what your mother and dad called you when you were a baby. Who are you? And they go, well, I'm a woman. I'm a mother. No, that's your identity. Who are you? And they go, I don't know what you mean. And that's the thing. Like what you're saying, once you know who you are, and it's a very difficult, well, it's not difficult once you understand. Once you know who you are, it's like, oh, I get it now, right? And that's, so when when you say, but I'm just reflecting what you said. You said a people pleaser is just another word for I'm insecure, right?
Yeah.
And we all are. It's not our fault, but it's Adam and Eve's fault because they ate that stupid fruit. If that's true, if we look at religion, right, why do we feel insecurity, right? Because we're not perfect, right? We've got that nagging voice in our head putting us down all the time. Where did it bloody come from? They said, well, apparently it was Adam and Eve, right? So we can blame them. But now we're aware of it, right? We're aware we've got a seed of a doubt, right? We're never enough, right? They're better than us, right? You've literally just walked thousands of miles, right? But it's like you're talking about it, but you're not literally digesting it. You're not feeling that. You're like, yeah, I did that. But someone else, I'll give you an example. If I got another person, they walked what you walked, but they knew who they were, they'd be like, I said, listen, they'd really tell the story because they're proud. But when we're insecure, we don't feel pride, right? Because we don't feel that. Let's be humble and small. I'm like, no, you've done amazing. And to tell me if I'm wrong, right? This is not just you. This is women in general, right? When someone gives you a compliment, right? Does that make you feel uncomfortable? So if I said, like I've said to you, I can't believe what you've done, right? You go out with your lips every time. Now you feel psychoanalyzing you, right? It's normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why are you doing it? He said, because it makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm like, you've just walked thousands of miles, which is a fact.
Yeah.
I've just said it to you. Well done. And you're like, oh, that's interesting, right? But
it is interesting, isn't
it?
it? Yeah.
But do you know what, Shalane?
I'm really sorry to interrupt,
Go
but I'm really glad you pointed that out because that is the point that I'm at in my own journey with that, where intellectually it's like I'm able to claim, yes, I know I've done this. Yes, I know it's amazing. Yes, I am proud of that. But on that intuitive, emotional level, you're right. Like I am still clenching my lips and going, because I'm still working on myself to fully embrace it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, some people go, why did it take you 15 years to put out this book? Well, it took me 15 years because those last 15 years, I had been hiding that part of myself because it was so abnormal to what the average person experiences in their life that I wasn't prepared to embrace that contradiction.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared to really fully own it and go, yeah, I have done this. And yeah, I don't feel like I need to shrink because it makes you uncomfortable that I've done this. Yeah. Because this is my story. And yeah, so to speak it, yes, I'm owning it, but you're right. Like there's still a little part of me that's kind of going, this is a bit, it's a lot.
It's good though, isn't it? So in a way, they go, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's not. It's exciting. It's like, okay, because we're learning stuff. We're like, oh God, yeah, we're becoming aware of it. We're like, yeah, I do that, and it's all right because we're never going to be perfect. But if we're aware that we're never going to be perfect, that in itself is very powerful. It's like, I get it now. And it's like, I'll give you an example, right? Let me give you another example. You know, Anna Son, who's anorexic, right? I used to be a psychologist, by the way, if you didn't know. Right? Anyway, but most of psychology doesn't work. But I used to work with people with anorexia, right? And I had people who were my colleagues and they were psychologists. And these people who had anorexic, they would go and see the counsellor and they'd tell her, how do you feel? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong questions here. She doesn't want to talk about how she feels. She feels like crap. She's full of trauma and you're asking her how she feels. Anyway, I had this woman, right? And this happened a few times. And they'd say the same thing. I wouldn't say why do you associate food with pain and all. I'll say, what happens when you look in the mirror? And they say the same thing. I see a fat person, right? But the reality is that they're going to die because that's undernourished, right? But they are literally in their brain seeing a fat person. And that's why you hear these stories say, I do it because it's control. And it is. But in the mirror, they're reflecting, they see a fat person, even though the reality is different. So then this Shalane, right? She travels all over. She's literally walking. You couldn't make it up, right? Yeah. Now, if I did something like that, I'd be writing albums about it and writing books. I'd be sharing it with the world. I'd be boasting about it. Not in an arrogant way, but say, look what I've done. Yeah. It's possible. But when Shalane, when she's telling people, she doesn't see it. she looks in the mirror and she sees that she hasn't really done it, even though it's like,
Yeah.
do you get me?
Yeah,
And that's
100%.
interesting. So
Yeah.
let's play with
It
that
is.
for a minute, right? So
Yeah.
where do you think, like I say, you're a woman like everyone else. How you feel is like how most people feel, true? So where do you think it came from? Because it must have come from somewhere. What's made you dissociate from reality? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you reckon that
For,
is?
for me, it's childhood.
Yeah.
And what made me realize, like, I can only speak for myself, but I do think there's probably lots that can relate, is in becoming a parent and teaching my son now the ways of the world and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels where I've realized that if I'm going to teach him ways of healthily dealing with his emotions, dealing with interactions, making friends, all those sorts of things,
Yeah.
it needs to reflect how I'm interacting in the world. Otherwise, he's just going to copy me anyway.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what you say as a parent, it matters what you do. And so by me intentionally parenting, it's made me then reflect on how I interact in the world.
Yeah.
And then sorry, and then thereby realize that there's aspects of how I grew up as a child where, whether you call it a generational thing or just the parents I had or cultural, I don't know, but there was an aspect of my upbringing where it was taught that it was much more important for you to fit in this box of how society expects you to be than it is for you to step outside of that.
Yeah.
And if you step outside of that, you need to kind of show yourself as being humble and make sure you're not making people uncomfortable, that look at their faces, they're feeling X, Y, and Z, or, oh, you're speaking too much about this, you're too prideful. Those sorts of messages, whether they were intentional or just, what do you call it, like multi-generational, where they learned it from their parents and it's passed down. There was a lot of that going on in my childhood.
Yeah.
And I now can see it as I'm now teaching my son, where I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm teaching him to be himself in social interactions and not be expected to hug everyone that wants a hug or be expected to say everything exactly how it should be said, and instead have the message be yourself. I need to look at myself and go, is that what I'm doing? And up until very, very recently, I wasn't. I was constantly, maybe in closed door situations, I might feel free and feel safe to be myself, but out in the world, no, I had kind of my customer service face on, and I'd be polite to everyone and agreeable to everyone and find the diplomatic solution in everything, even if it conflicted with my own boundaries. And I think there's a lot of people that are in the world living that way, where, yeah, it might be pleasant. You might have lots of people that like you, but do they even know who you are if you're not being yourself? And so that's kind of a realization where I've had to come to terms with, where it's like, for me anyway, it's all linked back to my childhood and undoing some of those, I guess, lifelong lessons that I had internalized without realizing it.
It's so interesting you say that. So you've just basically said in a nutshell, it's a learned behavior. You were told this. You didn't know. You were a little kid. So when it's not your fault, is it? You say it's my mum and dad's fault. And so it's not their fault because their parents told them that's how it was. You speak English because you live in a country that's the language. If you lived in China, you'd be speaking Mandarin, right?
Yeah.
It's a learned behavior. So when we're kids, you'll like this, right? When you were a baby, you'll love this, right? You were only born with two fears. That's it. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. So that means every other fear you've got, one being what other people think of me, that's a learned behavior. because you've learnt it, and you've learnt it because someone's told it you over and over and over again. So when you're a little girl, your mum's like, no, don't do that. And you're like, okay, you're learning it. Be nice, be small, don't be prideful. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Because when you were a little girl, there would have been points in your life that you were confident, and your mum went, pack it in. Well, okay.
Yeah.
You learn.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're like, Mum, I'm traveling the world. I'm going to walk. Well, what are you doing that for? I'm writing a book. Who do you think you are? You got any? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I won't write it then.
Yeah.
I won't do it then. I'll just keep quiet.
Yeah.
But what you've done, right? You like this because it's the truth. We like the truth. This is what I from you. I sound like a bloody psychic. What I'm feeling from you, right? It's not psychic. It's the truth, right? The truth is, well, everything's energy, isn't it? Really, everything's love. Let's get hippies, right? When you're walking, this is why you're drawn to it so much, because it's the truth, right? You're out in nature. It's natural. Everything's real, and it hurts. So what? There's this energy, spiritual force that's keeping you going. You come from the earth, you return to the earth, right? And then you're in your own element. That's why you can keep going. You don't, when you're walking, you don't feel emotionally drained. You might be knackered, your bones, and your muscles are aching, but you're not emotionally drained. You're emotionally high. But you're in a relationship with Soft Lad, or these bad idiots, right? The vibration's lower because it's like, it's sucking the life out of you because it's not natural. And that's why you're drawn to walking. It's like, so that this, you're like, I need to go for a walk because when I'm walking, it's like I'm walking with God because I'm tuned in. But when I'm in that house and there's a little domestic relationship, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right. But because I've been told by my parents to shut up and be quiet and obedient, I'm like, okay. So if your mum and dad said to you, don't take crap off anyone, I'll give you an example, right? My wife, she was in a domestic relationship for 16 years, right? And when I first met her, you'll like this, right? When I first met her, this isn't about me, right? I know I'm waffling on, sorry. Because I'm all I'm doing is reflecting what you're saying, okay? That's all I'm doing. My wife, she was in a relationship for 16 years. It wasn't a relationship. It was just abuse, right? And she used to have a fringe down here. And she was really good looking, right? She was, right? She was such this little beautiful angel. She was gorgeous. And she was older than me. She was like 14 years older than me. I was 30 and she was like 45 or something. Anyway, and she was a bit, oh, you're a bit young for me. And anyway, I'm this confident, I'm not cocky. I'm just confident. Like you're confident when you're walking. I wouldn't be. But so I'm this outgoing person. I didn't used to be when I was a little kid because I used to listen to what people told me. Like, shut up. Well, okay. I used to be shy. Like you. But then I woke up. I went, oh, right. But anyway, so I'm with this woman, right? And she's always put a fringe. And I said, let me see your face. And she was like, ah. And I had this deep empathy for her. I'm like, oh, I just felt so sad for her. Like she was this little girl. And I just wanted to protect her. And that's when I fell in love with her. I just wanted to like pick her up and save her. And it took me a long time to build her up, right? And I mean years and years. And that's constantly telling her that she's beautiful. If I told her she's beautiful, she'd go, no, I'm not. You can't, like, she couldn't take compliments. But anyway, I said to her, I remember saying this, and this was on our first couple of dates. And I'm going to swear now. And I'm sorry, I don't swear, but sometimes swearing's the only descriptive word that you can use. True, right?
Sometimes it is.
It is, isn't it? Then it's not swearing. It's not foul if it's descriptive, right? I said to her, and I looked at her, I said, because I knew this was going somewhere, right? I knew we were going to be married. And I said, because we were in a shop and I wanted to buy this book and I was a bit, should I buy it? Should I not? It was only a book and it was like $20 and I could afford it. I just thought, should I get it? And she went, I'll buy it for you. Like something you'd do. I'll get it for you. Because she fell in love with me, right? And I went, what? I went, no, don't be silly. Now, if I was an idiot, I'd go, oh, go on then. And I just turned to her and I said, just stop. I went, no, it's all right. Thank you. And I didn't leave it there. I said, we went for a coffee in the bookshop. I said, listen, I said, you did that then. She went, yeah. I said, I don't mind, but I goes, I know, and I appreciate it, but I'm not like that. And she said, okay. I said, we're together. Okay. We look after each other. And I said, don't ever, and I remember looking at her, she always remembers this. I said, don't ever take shit off anybody, including me. Never. Meaning, don't let anyone take advantage of you. And she's like, okay, all right. She's not like that now, right? Now she's sort of got it. We've been married for 15 years, something like that. She's the boss of the house. Like, I'm up here talking to you, and she'll be like, I like that, right? Because she's confident. She will not take shit off anyone, right? She's the boss. I do what she tells me to do, right? I'm the one who works. I'm the one with the money, but she's the one who decides what's happening with it. I've got to ask her.
Yeah.
But that's good because she's happy. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay
Yeah.
now. That's the role of
Yeah.
a man and a woman. It's not about a man dominating a woman. It's about the woman knows what she's
No.
doing. You've just got to lift her up, right? And
Yeah.
until that happens, when you find him, I don't know if you're single now, but when you find him, you will know, because he will lift you up. And if he's not lifting you up, that's when you think, okay, stop. I've seen this pattern before, and that's it, isn't it? But again, you know more than I. All I'm doing is reflecting on what you're saying, right? Because I'm just very articulate. That's all. You know this anyway. You can look at a woman and she'll ask questions, right? And you'll look at it and go, I get it. You can emotionally empathize with her. You can get into that vibration. You've got this ability, being a woman, that you can put your hand on a woman. I've seen it, how women interact with each other. It's like magic. Men don't do that. Men take the mick out of each other. Women embrace each other. And you've got that ability.
Yeah.
And this book that you've written, I know we're talking, but you really go into detail with this. So I'm going to shut up now because I'm making it about me. I'm not. I'm just reflecting what you're saying. Because I'm listening to you, you see. Men don't listen.
It's good. It's
Isn't
good.
it? So, right. So what can... Now, you know this, right? What can women do? So a woman's watching this. Men won't be watching it. They would have cut off ages ago, right? Because we're talking about emotions, right? And they're not on that level. So a woman's watching this, right? She's like, you've inspired her, right? Because she wants to go do the same thing as you do. But she's been through similar things as you have. She's got self-doubt. So what steps can she take from your experience? Because you know the answer. You know the truth, Shalane, because you've experienced it. What steps can she take? What does she need to do?
Oh, I think that's such a loaded question. I think
Sorry.
for
Sorry.
for myself, one of the key things in shifting my mindset around embracing myself and stopping the whole idea of shrinking who I was, well, it was kind of twofold, and I'm not sure really what came first, but one was really just acknowledging who I was at my core, and walking Te Araroa really kind of stripped away all the unnecessary things that we put in our normal day-to-day life and brought me back to my identity at my core. So reliving that journey and writing my book really aligned myself with who I've always been, my flaws, my strengths, all of that. And that was part of the process. And by reliving that journey and writing the book, I was able to embrace that and own it and go, you know what, I don't want to be deviating from this person because this was who I was born to be. And then second to that was really doing a big audit on the relationships in my life and really looking at them through a critical eye and going, which relationships am I shrinking in? And these could be relationships where there are people that really only know a small part of who I am. And I've never felt comfortable sharing the rest of who I am. They could be relationships where I have to tiptoe around expectations. So whether it's, emotions that the other person has, or maybe the conversation is always about them and their problems and their life, and I'm just there to listen and help solve their problems, but they're never reciprocating. Or maybe they're relationships where the person might check in once every blue moon and it's not really a genuine connection. And by taking audit of all these relationships and going, which ones are the ones that genuinely lift me up, where I can have a great day and they're there to celebrate with me, and I can have a really crap day and they're there to provide support in a way that's actually beneficial for me. Those are the relationships to focus on. All the other ones, either drop them or put boundaries in them or make them as small as they are necessary to have, and stop putting your energy into them when it's not needed. So by knowing who I was authentically and by really doing an audit of my relationships and zeroing in on the ones worth my time and energy, that really helped me gain momentum in living more of an authentic life. The following step to that was to really tune into how I was communicating and how I was setting boundaries and how I was dealing with speaking up for my needs. Because for me, that was something I really didn't know how to do. I thought I did. I thought I knew how to communicate. I thought I communicated effectively. But when I took the time to really be honest with myself, I realized that I would communicate effectively in closed door settings, but when it came to actually doing it face to face, I would always find a way to skirt around how to speak my needs into existence and say, this is where my boundary is, and this is what I need. And if you can't meet me at that need, then I need to walk the other way. And for me, my way of learning that was through resources of people that have already done it. So through going to therapy, through reading books of people who have navigated those situations, and then through the wonderful world of AI and having a chat with ChatGPT. And some might not agree with that. For me, it was really effective to get on there and really just run through day-to-day situations and go, this is what's going on. Here's what I want to say. How do I actually say that in a way where I'm not shrinking, but I'm still being respectful to the other person? And by doing that, a few, what felt like 100 times, I have been coming to the point where I am more confident in my relationships, in just being who I am. And I'm also more confident in not being afraid when someone disagrees or when someone is in conflict with my boundaries or when someone just simply doesn't like me. It's okay. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to like me. And for me, that journey has brought me to the point of acceptance in that, whereas prior to this, I wasn't. And I felt like I had to get everyone to like me.
I like that. That's very nice. It's good, isn't it? Do you know what? Like self-development's so important, and people think,
It's so
"Oh,
important.
it really is."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
I like
yeah.
your story because in a way, right, you can simplify it. It's the same with walking. So there's you in life. We're going somewhere. You've got an
Yeah.
intention, right? We're never going to be satisfied. No matter where we get in life, we always want more.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, isn't it? If you walk 1,000 miles, you want to walk 3,000 miles. You know that. That's what you do.
Yeah.
If you win the lot, if you win $1 million, you want another million,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you feel
Mm-hmm.
good, you want to feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want
Yeah.
to. Oh, you
And
always
to
want
me,
more.
to interject there, I don't think there's anything wrong with
No.
that. I think
No.
a lot of people view that as being greedy
No.
or selfish.
Yeah.
But to me, being goal orientated and always looking at what that next step is or that next level or that next area to improve or the next thing you want to achieve,
Mm.
every step along the way you're learning something new about yourself, you're learning something new about your environment, and you're learning more than what you knew before.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this parallels parenting or your childhood growing up, where, like, I look at my son and it's like he's got so many skills he's learning to do right now. But is there a point where you kind of go, oh, that's enough for a 4-year-old?
Mm,
No, you keep going to the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? And it's not pushing, pushing, pushing. It's saying, great, you've learned this, you've celebrated it. Now you are ready
mm,
and equipped to learn what's next. And I think the same is as what is in life, where you might achieve the biggest goal you've ever had in your life,
mm,
but through that process, you've learned so much about yourself
mm.
that you get to the end of the goal and you kind of go, cool, now I'm equipped to do the next step. And that might be something bigger, or it might be more of the same, but you can keep going. And I think that's what's so beautiful about living an authentic life is you don't have a limit on your potential. So when you talk about fullest potential, you will never get there, but it's the journey of that process of taking steps along your path that's yours that brings you to a level of greatness that you were always meant to have when you were born. And that's kind of my message on my platform, where I would love to work with people and support people and empower people to get connected with who they are at their core and really open their eyes to the world of possibility of what they can do if they stop shrinking who they are to fit in with this box of whatever they've been told they should be.
Yeah. Do you know what's I know what's interesting about it as well. We can all read the best books in the world and listen to the best life coaches and motivational speakers, right? And we think, right, I've got it now,
Mm.
and it works.
Mm.
But it only
Yeah.
works for a short period of time. Then it stops, and then people go back to their own. It's called paradigms.
Mm.
They're all habitual ways of thinking. You think, why does it never
Mm-hmm.
last? It was good for a while, and then everything was great, and now it's gone
Yeah.
back, and now it's and you think, well, what's
Yeah.
that? And the answer is we do things by habit again because the old
Mm-hmm.
program. Like so, like you're spot
Mm-hmm.
on, right? You've got to
Mm-hmm.
know who you are, right? Once you know who
Mm-hmm.
you are, like you. I know you've got a website. You do coaching, and you have strategies. Say,
Mm-hmm.
right, if you do this, this, and this, you'll be all right. That's it. It's as simple as that. And they say, well,
Mm-hmm.
is that it? Say, yeah, but there's something else. You've got to do
Mm-hmm.
it every day. You don't just learn it once and
Yeah.
then think, there you go. You've got it. It's like going to the gym. You don't
Mm-hmm.
go to the gym once and then look
Mm-hmm.
like Superman. You've got to keep
Mm-hmm.
going. And it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
self-development. So there's no,
Mm-hmm.
like if I said I'm going to go and walk 3,000 miles, it ain't going to happen. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
train yourself. Like, and you've got, I know you're a coach as well. You've got a website, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
I say I do my own
Yes.
work, mate.
Yeah.
Tell me about your coaching. Say, go on.
Yeah.
What's that
So
you do?
this is just something that I've that's tagged on to me writing the book
Mm,
about walking to Aotearoa. So it's part of the platform that I've started where I'm growing a community of people that maybe have gone through similar situations as me, or maybe are very goal orientated or very in tune to wanting to have an authentic life. And I am now developing tools and tactics and support resources to help you move along your journey. And through that, I'm also doing coaching. So I'm developing a coaching program, but also working with people one on one in their own journey. So right now, I've got my social media platform where, like, you're welcome to check me out. I'm sure you'll have links below for that, where I share more stories, more behind the scenes, and more even on my own growth journey. Because I think I think it's important that if you are looking to any life coach or any professional person, to know that they come from a place of experience. And so for me, I'm not up here saying that I'm perfect or that I've got absolutely everything figured out, but I will say that I'm pulling back the layers of my own journey and who I am, sorry, and sharing that with you alongside of you so that we can connect together, and hopefully that inspires you and empowers you to keep going with your own journey.
what I'm doing, I'm going to try and find this website. I'm going to put it on the screen. So can you tell me, Shalane, what's the website called?
So it's just my first name and last name.com, so ShalaneHopkins.com. So that's SHALANEHOPKINS.com.
ns.com. Right, watch this. You just carry on talking, because remember, this isn't being edited. So while I'm trying to find this, it only take me a minute.
Yeah,
I found it already.
not a problem.
And I'm going to put it up on the screen, and you'll see it as well. And you can obviously show people it as well. Right, I've got it up.
Cool.
Oh, what's it doing now? So you just carry on talking while I'm multitasking. I am a man, by the way.
Not a problem. So for me, like, I think in my own journey of discovering or rediscovering who I am, I think there's been a lot of parallels to watching my son just blossom in who he is and realizing I don't want to snuff that out. And for me, somewhere along the line, that was quieted and told that it needed to be smaller than what it was. And now I'm coming to a point where I'm reconnecting with that little girl that I used to be and who I've always been. And it's such a freeing feeling. And now I'm able to embrace the part of myself that a lot of people have come to me to say, oh, it's too much, or that's intense, or that opinion's too strong, or that sort of thing. And now I'm using that for my platform, where I am an author, where I am creating resources, where I am coaching other people. And I'm hoping that if this is something that resonates with you in this conversation, that you'll come check me out, come say hi, and see what it's all about. And maybe it's something that you want to come and join the journey and walk alongside with me together. So I just see the website's popped up there.
There you go. Has it come up?
I did have it's come up. So I did run a pre-sale of my book, and the official date of release is the 10th of February this year. So whenever this video comes out, so this website will change in alignment with that. And on here, I'll continually be adding more resources and options for you to walk alongside of me on this journey of life.
There you go. I like the website. There you go. So today's the Tuesday, the 3rd of February. This has been recorded. It's going to be released on Wednesday, the 4th. So it's tomorrow our time, 2026. So I can interact with this. Look, it says here, obviously it says, this is so professional. Look at that. Look at that.
So one little side note in my journey was I did end up doing a diploma in web development and design. So I've been able to use that skill set to help put this up. And there's heaps more I want to add to it. But like with any goal that I've been talking about, it's one step at a time. So it will be a work in progress to keep you guys up to date and keep providing resources that work for your journey.
That's amazing. So you've created all this website yourself?
Yes. So it is done with WordPress. So that's a huge help to make things efficient to build something like this. But I did put all the work into it myself.
I like this here. It says, obviously, creative strategist, a life coach who empowers individuals to overcome challenges and grow authentically. After walking 3,000 kilometers along New Zealand, she has become one of the, so I'm blind as a bat, that's why I've got glasses on, the lessons of resilience and authenticity into tools for everyday life. She is the author of One Step at a Time, which you've got to read. Because literally, we've only been chatting for an hour and 40 minutes, but the book obviously goes into great detail. You can actually download the media kit there, and there you are there, and it gives you a bit of information. And you've got a Facebook page, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all there, and I'm excited for. I've just got so many plans in my head. I have to keep reminding myself that you just do little bits at a time and keep building it. So I'm excited to share what'll be coming soon.
There you go. Look, how good's that? So that's the first time I've shared my screen.
Oh,
I thought,
that's exciting.
It's good that. So that could have went.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I don't know what I'm doing here. My right hand's there on the mouse. So like I say, these videos aren't edited or anything like that. So it's not dead professional. But as long as we get the point across, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, that's really good. That is there anything else you want to go through? Shalane, before we wrap it up?
No, I feel like we've covered a wide range of things. If anyone is interested in the book, it is being released worldwide. So through any normal real book distributor. So if you're talking Amazon and that sort of thing, it's on there. It is also on a few local shops in the UK, so you can look those up if we need to. And if your bookstore doesn't have it, just tell them about it and they should be able to order it because I've got worldwide distribution for it.
Wow. Wow. And you've written this all yourself. There's no ghostwriters. This has come from
No,
the heart.
I had a lovely editor who gave me some blunt feedback about some stuff I needed to tweak, but other than that, it's all me. So it's been a joy to write it, and I hope if it even just inspires one person to kind of, whether they want to walk something like that themselves or even just in their own journey of taking things one step at a time.
Do you know what I'd do? Here's a suggestion. Make an audio book and then they could go for a walk and listen to it as they're walking.
Oh, perfect.
See?
Perfect.
It's right in here.
Well, I would love to do an audiobook. Right now it's just paperback and ebook format, but audiobook, hopefully I can get in the works in the next wee while.
Yeah.
Because that would be great to have as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. See, it was dead laid back, not professional. We're just chilling out, aren't we? We're just chilling out.
Yes.
Oh, it's been really nice talking to you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate
thanks for having me.
And like I say, everyone, if you want the full story or the drama, because there will be drama in there as well, I'm sure, you've got to read the book, okay? But we've just gone over basic... We've just summarised it a little bit. But no, thank you so much.
Heaps, yeah.
Oh. You've inspired me now. I need to go for a walk. But where's the dog? I'm going to go take the dog for a walk.
The dog will be excited.
Yeah, for 3,000 miles. He won't be thanking me, will he? But no, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So anyway, thank you. There you go. Oh, okay. That was good, that, wasn't it? That was interesting having her on with us. And I enjoyed that. And I hope you've learned something. Again, this is not about walking. That's the physical aspect of it. Again, there's more to it than that. This is about figuring out who you are. And it's hard to do, isn't it, in life? But again, you've got a book there. You don't have to walk thousands of miles or kilometers to find out who you are. Read the book, relax, sit down, have a coffee, just read the book. And Shalane will take you on that journey. You don't have to suffer. You can just listen to her story. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And thank you very much to Shalane for sharing that story with us. Until next time, look after yourself. And remember, motion is emotion. So the more you move, the happier you feel. That is the truth.